Hi, and welcome to this webinar about Carmenta Map Builder. My name is Måns Beckman, and I'm the product manager for Carmenta Map Builder. And with me here today,
Marcus Jander. I have a developer background. I normally help out as a consultant in different customer projects.
We're very glad to see that so many has joined us here today to listen in about Carmenta Map Builder. Some of you might be experienced Carmenta Map Builder users, and some might have joined this webinar to learn the basics of Carmenta Map Builder. So let's start with going through what is Carmenta Map Builder and when do you use it? So when you configure maps in Carmenta Engine, there are several different ways that you can do it. You can either hard code your configurations in code. That makes it quite easy to quickly wrap up an application, but it's very hard to change the data once it's deployed out to the end systems. Another way is to use Carmenta Studio that is bundled with Carmenta Engine SDK. And that's very suitable for developers, but it's not an application that is targeted to end users. And finally, you have Carmenta Map Builder, and that's an application that is suitable for end users. It makes it easy to configure maps and then deploy the map configurations and all the geodata out to your end systems where you have deployed your Carmenta Engine-based application. Marcus has made a small recording about how to create a map configuration in Carmenta Map Builder. Let's have a look at that.
Sure, just give me a second here and I'll start it.
Hi, and welcome to this Carmenta Map Builder introduction, where we create a raster map package. We start off by creating a new project. From the File menu, create new project. Enter a title. Abstract, and we also need to set a project folder. There we go. Our empty project needs content. I right-click, add a raster layer, and I select this blue marble folder. Map Builder found a single file of 10 megabytes, and I accept the default raster cache settings. And tada! We got ourselves a nice map of the world, and please wave if you're out there as I watch you. Great. I'll reset the view. Zoom to layer. Looking at the Layers tab here, we see our geodata path, the reference system, and we see a single data file here. It's fairly old, from 2004. That's an important piece of information that we want to provide. So let's take a look at the Metadata tab over here. As you can see, the Metadata tab contains the title, the abstract that we entered when we created the project, but there's also an additional metadata section here where I can enter a responsible organization, an email, and a responsible individual such as myself. And there's a revision date, which is the date of the metadata itself, but we wanted to set the data revision date of that fairly old world map. We have geodata and metadata, and we're ready to build our map package. I press build, I save my changes, and I like the folder output option. I need to set the output directory. And I'm ready to build. Really quick, this small example, but that's all there is to it. Let's take a look at the output folder. Everything needed to display the world map on any Carmenta Engine based target system, independent of platform, is included in this folder. The geodata is here, the index files have been generated, the metadata is here, and of course the Carmenta Engine configuration file. Good thing is you don't have to worry about it. Compress it, distribute it, deploy it on your target systems. It's all up to you how you solve it. But it's all here and ready to go.
That's really nice, Marcus. It's really simple to create configurations in Carmenta Map Builder. I saw that you switched between a few different tabs in the user interface. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the metadata that you filled in. And I saw that you skipped over the Legends tab. What's that about?
Well, the metadata is created according to the ISO 19139 standard and will be saved as XML files together with the rest of the output. If you want, you can even set up metadata in several different languages if you have the need for a multilingual geodata package. Now, the Legends tab is where you set up legends for your data. If you don't use legends in your user interface, you don't need to configure them, of course. But in this case, we just skipped it to shorten the clip a bit. It's up to the end user to decide if they want to configure legends or not.
Oh, really interesting, Marcus. But you can also make more complex visualizations in Carmenta Map Builder with advanced vector styling, right?
Yes, of course. I've made another recording where I show that. Should we have a look at that?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, give me a minute here and I'll get to it.
And if someone wonders, we're going to have a question session in the end here. So type your questions in the chat, like I saw Björn just did.
Hi everyone. In this Map Builder presentation, I'll show you how to work with raster and vector layers. So let's get started. I'm creating a new project. I'm gonna call it Coast Map, raster and vector layers, and a project folder. Good. You generally want to add your layers from the background and out. So I'll start by adding a raster layer. I'll choose blue marble and accept the raster cache default settings. Now we have a nice world map which will help us locate other geodata as we add it to the upcoming layers. Now, to make this map package a bit more interesting, we'll add some detailed aerial imagery. So I'll add a raster layer and I'll select a subfolder in this data set to save some time. We found two files of 664 megabytes and I'll accept the default raster cache settings here. So these images are from the NAIP, the National Agriculture Imagery Program. So they've been kind enough to provide us with these images. I'll just rename this layer to aerial. Now let's see if we can find our aerial photo here. It's on the west coast, a bit up north. See, beautiful stretch of coastline and a nice neighborhood of roads. Why don't we play around with some vector data here? Now, to add some visualization of the roads, I'll start by adding a layer group, which is very good when it comes to visualizing vector data. More about that later. But I add a layer group here called roads, and to that group I'll add a vector layer. And I have a shapefile here. We can see that the maximum scale of this layer has been calculated to avoid slow maps. We can change it later if we don't like it, but this new layer has some properties here. We can take a look at the geodata path of our shapefile, the reference system, code page to visualize its metadata properly. We got a line visualizer, blue. We can change the color if we like, transparency as well, but I like this orange color. And we can change the width. I like 2, a little bit thicker. It's solid with anti-aliasing. So I like this, but I'm gonna rename this layer to road lines. Great. Now let's add some road names, and one way to do this would be to add a text visualizer to our road lines here, and we can select a metadata field, the full name here, and we got some road names. We also got a warning here saying that to use caution when mixing text visualizer with other visualized text, as this can cause undesired overlaps. And we can see some of those overlaps here where line segments overlap text, and to avoid this we get rid of this text visualizer, and instead we add another vector layer using the same shapefile to our roads layer group, and we're going to call this one road names, and we'll get rid of the default line visualizer and we'll add text visualizer, and we'll use the full name metadata field. Now we don't have this warning, and we want to make sure that the text follows the road, so there's an advanced setting here where you can specify the follow line condition. So now the text follows our line. I want it to be centered along the lines, and it's a little bit messy here, so I'll use halo color, to a little bit transparent halo color, to make the text stand out some more. I'll actually make it a bit thicker. Now it's a little bit more readable. We can also change the font, perhaps even make it bold. Well, now it's really visible. It's totally up to you how you want to visualize text, but this is one way to do it. Now we see here a text, and normally you don't. This means there's no metadata of full name for a line segment. So I'll delete that default text, and now only road names available are visualized. Great. Now let's zoom out a bit. Now I just want to show you that there is label placement going on. It reduces the clutter, but normally you would create layer groups for different zoom levels, probably using different font sizes for road names, but for this example I'll just reduce the maximum scale of the road names layer, and as we zoom out, road names go away and we've prevented clutter. And now I'm happy with the contents. Before we continue, I'd like to mention the concept of keywords here in the Metadata tab. Keywords are plain strings that can be used to tag a map package to communicate its contents or intended use. For example, I can add coast and roads. Now, this may not seem very exciting, but I've seen customer examples where an overlay keyword is used. When such a map package is deployed, the target application will detect the new content and append it to a list of map overlays without any further configuration. So this concept is quite powerful, but it's totally up to the customer to decide if and how to implement the use of keywords. You may realize that this list of predefined keywords is quite important. Luckily, the new Map Builder configuration window available from the Tools menu here has a metadata section where you can define this list of predefined keywords to suit your organization. So that's it. All I wanted to mention on keywords. Now it's time to build our project. I press build, save my changes. I need to decide how the project should be built. I'll go through the different alternatives and we'll take a look at the resulting output. The folder output option will copy all required files to an output directory. The contents can then be copied to any Linux or Windows target machine. This is often the quickest option since no installation is required, but it also means you may have to clean up old files on target systems manually. The Windows installer package MSI output option can be very convenient if you need to manage many Windows target machines and keep them in sync with specific versions of geodata. Here you set version and publisher, and you also get the possibility to set installation folders for catalog and geographic data. The OGC GeoPackage option creates a standard GeoPackage that can be used on Windows and Linux, but there are two different ways to use it. If we check Rasterize Map, a single image-based GeoPackage will be created. The map will be rasterized to image tiles at different scale steps. The target machine reads these tiles instead of the original data sources. This method is mostly used to make highly detailed vector maps faster to read, really useful when the target machine has low processing power. The files are quite large, but in some cases it can reduce the total file size if the vector data has lots of attributes and highly detailed geometry. Now, if we uncheck Rasterize Map, a single geopackage will be created. This means the data sources are packaged in one single file, but still exist as separate entries in the package. Any vector features will be drawn crisp when you zoom in, and I would say this is the standard choice when target machines have normal processing power. To save some time, I have built the project using the different methods. Let's have a quick look at the output. Here you see the different output folders. So first, using the folder output option, we have geodata in separate folders, one for each layer, and we have index files and metadata. We can compare that to the geopackage, the standard version. You can see there's only a single geopackage file, but it contains all information. The raster version of the geopackage has exactly the same structures, although the geopackage has different contents, of course, rasterized image tiles. The MSI output option gives us the MSI, and all the data is contained in these KEB files. So this basically concludes all I wanted to tell you about Map Builder this time, but I hope you enjoyed and found the information useful. Thank you for watching. Please visit carmenta.com for more information.
One of the features I showed you there, the export to geopackage in Carmenta Map Builder 3.4, is new in Carmenta Map Builder 3.4. Could you tell us a little bit more about the new features in Carmenta Map Builder 3.4?
Sure, I can do that. We happen to have this presentation about the new features in Carmenta Map Builder 3.4. Could you switch over to that, Marcus?
Sure, I'll do that. Any second here. There we go. And the next slide, here we go.
Oh, brilliant. One of the new features we added in Carmenta Map Builder 3.4 was support for new geodata formats. We added support for ASRP and USRP raster formats that usually are used in military systems. And this is a bit interesting because we actually added this by using the dataset info functionality in Carmenta Engine that makes it possible to ask Carmenta Engine if it's able to read a file format. We only test Carmenta Map Builder with certain raster formats, but it's possible in the settings dialog that Marcus showed before to go in and add additional formats if you would like to try extra formats that you might have that we don't say that we support, but we can't guarantee that they work. Another thing that we added was the support for OGC layers. That is web-based services such as VMS and VMTS that you now can add as background maps in your configuration. And then when you deploy the configuration to your end system, it will talk directly to the web server that you have pointed out. And we also added support for packaging 3D data in Collada format that makes it possible to package your 3D data for Carmenta Engine-based applications. Another thing that we did was to add the possibility to visualize OpenStreetMap data without having Python installed on the target system. Previously, we needed Python on the target system to use the OpenStreetMap data that Carmenta Map Builder generated, but that has been removed now. Another thing we did was to add the possibility to use RGB images as polygon fills in previous versions of Carmenta Map Builder, you could only use black and white images as polygon fills. And we did lots of things on the user experience side. We made it possible to set the coding page for your geodata with a drop-down instead of having to type in the code page number. We made it possible to set a custom background map in the Add OpenStreetMap layer dialog. We made an identify tool that makes it possible to click on vector features and figure out what properties they have. That makes it much easier to, when you're going to style your information, to get information about the data you have in Carmenta Map Builder. We made it possible to reload Raster data when it changed. And we also added a progress bar when Carmenta Map Builder generates Raster caches for overviews and indexes. And in the output, like Marcus mentioned, we added support for GeoPackage. Before, we were able to render to Carmenta Map Package, Carmenta specific format, but that's been changed to OGC GeoPackage, like Marcus mentioned. And it's also possible to convert all your data into a GeoPackage that will keep it as vector and Raster data, but stored in a GeoPackage instead of the original formats. And we also made a small change where when you created MSI packages before, it would split up the cab files into different disk folders, legacy from when you distributed your geodata on DVD disks. But now, since most geodata distribution is done on USB sticks, we removed that it splits up the cab files. And finally, we added the possibility to include index files for vector data. We previously had just support for index files for Raster data, but now all index files you create will be shipped with your map data and configuration and metadata and etc.
Yes.
So now let's jump into the questions that we might have got. Could you stop sharing, Marcus, so we can see the chat panel?
Please, yes, sure. There we go. And we need to see that. Okay.
Great. Okay, we got a couple of questions here. One was about the map type and the metadata tab. The map type is either set to map or view. This is a concept that is included in the catalog extension in Carmenta Engine, but usually you would like to set that to map and not to view. It's sort of depending on your implementation on how you use Carmenta catalog extension to read the data that's packaged by Carmenta Map Builder. Another question we got is about vector tiles in OGC GeoPackage. OGC GeoPackage doesn't really support the question is, OGC GeoPackage supports vector tiles. Will Map Builder generate that for vector layers? And it's a bit tricky here because there is a vector tiles extension to OGC GeoPackage, but it's not an official supported extension yet. To put it simple, no, we won't generate vector tiles in the GeoPackage. We will store the vector data as vector data in the GeoPackage, but it won't be in vector tiles. The upcoming Carmenta Engine 5.15 will support this community extension to GeoPackage to read vector tiles, but we can't produce it yet. If you have any further questions, you please type them in the chat. Otherwise, we have a few prepared questions. The first one is, what versions of Carmenta Engine can you target with Carmenta Map Builder, Marcus?
Well, a good question. With Carmenta Map Builder, you can target multiple versions of both Carmenta Engine and Carmenta Server, and they sort of belong together. So starting with the oldest supported target version, which is Carmenta Engine 5.8.2, that corresponds to Carmenta Server 4.4. You can target Carmenta Engine 5.9, but there's no corresponding Carmenta Server version there. You can target Carmenta Engine 5.10, which corresponds to Carmenta Server 4.5, and then there's a skip to target the newest Carmenta Engine 5.14, which corresponds to Carmenta Server 4.7 and Carmenta Server Core 20.0.
Another prepared question we got is the geo packages produced by Carmenta Map Builder, can then they be used with other software than Carmenta's? And of course, the geo package is, like we said, an OGC standard for both vector and raster data. And the geo package is produced by Carmenta Map Builder can be used in other software. The styling information, however, for vector data is stored in Carmenta's own format, so you won't be able to see the vector data styled in the same way in other software. But you can always use Carmenta Map Builder to render the map to a raster map, and then you can use it in any software that supports GeoPackage raster. Let's see if we got any more questions in the chat, Marcus. No. Let's jump to another one that we have prepared. Do you need to install Python to use the OpenStreetMap configurations in Carmenta Engine? I think we talked about this previously, but maybe you can give a bit more details, Marcus.
Yeah, well, it used to be the case that the requirement for Python is removed as long as you target Carmenta Engine 5.14. So if you want to target older versions of Carmenta Engine and you can't install Python on your client, then you can always render to raster, the map to a raster geo package.
Oh, great. Let's see if we got another question here. It's can the styling be exported to a format that can be used by others? And unfortunately, no, not at the moment. We have done similar things for different clients, but it sort of depends on the target systems. It's not anything that is built into Carmenta Map Builder, and it's not anything that is built in Carmenta Engine, but we have done customer projects where we exported it to example SLD or similar. So if you have a target system where you would like to use the styling information, please get in contact with us and we can see what we can do. I don't think we have any more questions now. So thank you very much that you attended this webinar. And that was all we had today. If you want to know more about Carmenta Map Builder, please visit carmenta.com. And that's also where you can sign up for evaluation licenses if you don't already have Carmenta Map Builder. If you have any further questions, you can always email us at support@carmenta.com and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Once again, thank you for joining us today, and please hope that we talk to you again soon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.